Beedrill. I mean, now this is just getting ridiculous. Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Sable Eyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at a Beedrill deck list. Destiny Stinger Beedrill is the card that we're going to be focusing on today, and you can tell that the lack of tournaments that we've seen over the last few weeks due to the events around the world are really starting to take a toll. I mean, down to some real interesting cards now. So yeah, we'll take a look at the list and we'll see how it ends up going. So obviously, Beedrill here with Destiny Stinger. 1 grass energy means that we can use this attack if this Pokemon has damage counters on it, and both active Pokemon are knocked out. So with Beedrill being a Stage 2 non-GX Pokemon, we need a way to reliably get damage counters onto it. That means we're going to be using Rainbow Energy to try and power up our Beedrills so that we can use Destiny Stinger. Now, this only works against some of the top tier decks in the format, and it only works every now and then, but when it does, it feels really, really good. Being able to knock out something like a Pikachu Zekrom or a Mewtwo Mew, even an ADP for 1 energy is incredibly powerful. Reckless Charge is also an attack that this card has. Probably not going to be that relevant. We have a 4-2-4 line of Beedrill, as well as a Ditto Prism to get through as many of our attackers as possible. We don't really have that much going on in the deck apart from that. I mean, we've got an Ordinary Rod so we can get our attackers back, but realistically we only have 4 energy anyway, so it's unlikely that we're going to be able to get more than 4 attacks off. We just need to make sure that we get them quickly and against the right targets. So we've obviously got Jirachi to help us get into cards that we need to get going. Jirachi is a very important part of this deck to try and help find all sorts of items, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. We also have 1 copy of Zacian V as well with Intrepid Sword to help draw cards in the early game. We're not looking to be taking knockouts early. We're obviously going to need to find quite a lot before we can start doing that, so Zacian is going to help us in the early game drawing some cards. Now let's talk through what we're realistically going to be trying to do. We're going to try and stall out the first few turns behind Lillie's Pokédoll. If it gets knocked out by our opponent, they don't take any prizes, which is good for us. It means that we have more time to set up our Beedrills. And then we're going to use a combination of 4 Quick Balls, 2 Net Balls, and 4 Evo Incense to try and find our evolution pieces. Now, Netball is really good in that it finds basic grass Pokemon, but it doesn't find the grass energy in this deck since we don't have any. We've just got the rainbows, so we're not going to be able to use the second effect here. We are going to be able to find Weedle with it though, which is really good, and we're going to use our 4 copies of Rare Candy to get into our Beedrills when we have them. Like I mentioned, we also need to make sure that we're taking appropriate knockouts. We have 2 copies of Great Catcher to try and get GX knockouts where possible. We can manage 4 knockouts, and that's about as good as we do, so we need to make sure that at least 2 of them are on 2 prize attackers, and Great Catcher will allow us to do that. We also play a copy of Tag Call in the list. Despite the fact we don't have any tag team Pokemon, we do have these 2 tag team supporters, Cynthia Caitlin and Guzma Hala. Guzma Hala is really, really strong. It allows us to find those rainbow energies when we need them. We can also use it to search out a copy of Chaotic Swell, which we run 1 of as well. But realistically, it's just going to be for that rainbow energy. We can pick up escape boards as well if we need them. And apart from that, we just run 4 Cynthia, shuffle our cards into our deck and hope for the best, as well as 3 Marnie to potentially disrupt our opponents. Ultimately, this deck is only going to be able to win against decks that have GX Pokemon. If you can't take a GX knockout, you cannot win. You have to hope that you get at least 1 tag team or 2 GX knockouts. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do anything. But Destiny Stinger against the right deck at the right time is going to be quite powerful. We'll see if we can get one on the ladder. Okay, so hopefully we can find one of those tag team based decks on the ladder here. That's a very nice Dragonite coin. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. We've lost the coin flip, which is a bit disappointing, but obviously we do have Pokédolls, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. And our opponent has elected to go first. This is actually a pretty decent start. As long as this Jirachi finds us a Cynthia or a supporter of some kind, we should be okay. I've got a Weedle here as well as a Quick Ball. And our opponent starting Jirachi doesn't tell us a huge amount, though there is an ADP deck box there, so perhaps we might get a little bit lucky. Cherish Ball coming out here, so we are likely to see the... Yep, there it is, ADP coming down. This is good for us. It's good. I mean, it's not going to be great, because obviously they are going to be able to potentially get that GX attack off, and that Absol is very frustrating as well. But hey, this is actually not that bad of a turn. Like, we've got ourselves a Rainbow, we've got Escape Board, we're all good. We've got a Switch as well. We can Quick Ball for the Zacian here to help us draw some more cards, and then we can Stellar Wish and see what we can find. A Pokédoll is pretty good. We could potentially switch into it, although we know that ADP is probably going to be going for the GX attack next turn, so there's no real rush. We can just Intrepid Sword here and give ourselves a few more cards. We've got a Kakuna, and we've got a Great Catcher as well as a Quick Ball here. If we're able to find an Evo Incense, we actually have a knockout on ADP next turn. We've got Switch in hand, we've got Rare Candy, and we've got the Energy. So we're looking pretty good. If our opponent does manage to get into that ADP, then we are effectively set and ready. And that Big Charm doesn't do anything when it just says take a knockout on your opponent's Pokemon. So we could be in with a real shot here. Marnie, though, that is so unfortunate. Getting those that hand disrupted, shuffled to the bottom of the deck means now we are only going to have 4 cards. We've got a Cynthia, which is good, but there's not a lot else going on here. We'll be able to chuck down this Chaotic Swell and then Cynthia, and hopefully we can get ourselves into a decent hand. It's a real shame that we managed to lose that good hand, because we were in a really, really good spot. And to put that Zacian in the active, that's very frustrating. Okay, so we have a lot to do. We're going to play down this Weedle, we're going to play down this Pokédoll. We know we're doing that for sure. We're going to chuck down a Rainbow Energy as well. We'll Chaotic Swell and then Cynthia, and we'll see what we can find. Hopefully we get ourselves into everything required. We've got a Switch, which is relatively useful. We could potentially switch into a Pokédoll, which means that our opponent won't be able to take any knockouts. And we can just Intrepid Sword here. Obviously the hand not quite as good as it could have been. But we do have an Evo Incense for next turn, and our opponent's not going to be taking a knockout, although they will be able to accelerate energy with Ultimate Ray, which is a little bit upsetting, but that's okay. It just gives us another opportunity. Obviously, they flipped heads with that Pokemon Catcher, means that they can't use it again. Here's another Pokemon Catcher, and they flipped tails, so they've used up 2. They can only realistically have 2 more left. Ultimate Ray is going to knock out that Pokédoll. There'll be no prizes taken from our opponent. Now the question is, what do we do here? Do we risk it with the Jirachi, or do we just chuck the Weedle straight up? I think it's probably better actually to just go for the Pokédoll. That way we can just shuffle that onto the bottom of our deck if we need to. This is a really awkward hand. We can just chuck a Rainbow Energy onto the Weedle here. Don't realistically need anything else. Maybe put down this Ditto as well. That could be worth doing. This is really awkward. We kind of want to know whether or not we're going to find the things we need. We can grab a Kakuna, which is good. We can chuck that one down. And I don't know, realistically, if there's anything better than just using Marnie here. We can just grab another Jirachi with Quick Ball. We don't really need that, so we're happy to put it on the bottom of the deck with a Marnie. Or we could just Intrepid Sword. I mean, there's no real risk here. I mean, Intrepid Sword, we can just take a look at some more cards. Our opponent has a 1-card hand. As long as that last card isn't a really strong one, we should be good to... Oh, well, I was talking about a really strong card. That's a really strong card. Anyway. They've already used 2 Gusts, though, so there's a good chance that they won't be able to get around this Pokédoll, and even if they do, they are probably not going to be in a position where they can do anything other than taking a knockout with Zacian. Here is one of those Gusts. They've got Pokemon Catcher here, and they've flipped tails again, so we are getting a bit of luck here. They got heads on the one flip that didn't really matter, and Shrine of Punishment replacing the Chaotic Swell doesn't really do anything for anyone here. It takes damage onto the ADP, but realistically, that's not going to make a difference, is it? Because we're going to do all of the damage at once. So the question becomes, is it possible for our opponent to do anything realistic here? They could potentially put Zacian into the active if they have a switch and attack, or they could just leave it be here, put the Jirachi into the active. They did attach to the Jirachi though, so they might be looking for a switch and a Metal Patch. Be able to attack with Jirachi. which would be quite impressive to say the very least. But hey, they've put down 2 GX Pokemon, so we are in a really solid spot. If we can get 3 knockouts in this game, we're going to be able to win. We're going to take out 1 Jirachi Edene and the ADP. So we've got a map now. We've got a map to victory. All we have to do is hope that things go well. And there's an Intrepid Sword, so if we do find ourselves a Beedrill here, we could be good to go. I thought that was a Beedrill then. Unfortunately, no, it was Weedle instead. And there's nothing much we can realistically do here. We're kind of in the same position that we were last turn. We can just grab that Weedle and then Marnie, I guess. Obviously, it'll reduce our hand size, but we've got a better chance of finding what we need. We know that there is going to be a bit of a tough start here. We've got the Pokédoll in the active. We want our opponent to find it as difficult as possible to get those knockouts. We'll grab Guzma Hala and Cynthia Caitlin here. Don't really need Guzma Hala anymore, considering the fact that we've already used pretty much all of them. We can just Intrepid Sword. We could have played the Netball, but probably not required. We are getting really unlucky with these Intrepid Swords here. But on the plus side, our opponent's getting unlucky with their coin flips on Pokemon catchers, so if they are going to take knockouts, they're realistically going to have to take them on our Pokédolls, unless they've got, well, they've obviously got one more potential opportunity with Pokemon Catcher, although sometimes these decks play 1 Great Catcher and 3 Pokemon Catchers, so hopefully it all works out for us. We can see our opponent with a Professor's Research there to draw a fresh 7 cards. Cherish Ball coming out here. They're going to grab themselves probably a Dedenne, because they've already discarded their ADP. They can't obviously play it yet, but they can definitely... Are they playing Custom Catcher as well? This deck has 4 Pokemon Catcher and Custom Catcher. Are you kidding me? What is going on? Okay, well, hey, at least now we know there's only one more Gust potentially in the deck, because there are 4 catchers and 2 customs in the deck. That's crazy. And they've only got 6 cards left. They've actually gone down to quite a low hand size here. So we're in a reasonably good spot. Like, I know it doesn't seem like we are, but we are in a reasonably good spot. I mean, we've lost 1 of our energy, which is frustrating, but we can chuck that Pokédoll back up now. And we've got another Weedle. We've got another Kakuna. All we need is to find ourselves a Beedrill. At some point, we have to, you'd think. You'd have to suggest that eventually we're going to find one. We can grab a Weedle with the Netball. There's 2 Rare Candy left, so we need this Kakuna to survive. Probably going to be discarding, I'd say, the Jirachi or maybe one of these Guzma Halas. We might grab ourselves a Cynthia back and draw 3 cards. We got a Beedrill, yes, but unfortunately we don't have access to the Rare Candy now, which is very disappointing. We can grab ourselves Evo Incense here. That would find another Beedrill, but is there any point? We might just have to sit behind it again. There's a Rare Candy in this hand, as well as another Evo Incense. We've got both Great Catchers, so I mean, we're in a position now where our opponent is probably relying on getting that last Custom Catcher. We've realistically done nothing because we keep missing these combo pieces. But hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to be alright. Our opponent's got a very low hand size, so we might potentially be able to steal a victory here. Jirachi coming into the active and then using Stellar Wish. Makes you wonder what they're looking for. Realistically, they could have just used Slap there to get the knockout. Makes you think that perhaps they have another switch in hand. They are grabbing another switch here out of deck, so getting rid of their resources here. If they want to retreat, they can, but they'll need to use another switch to get into an attack. They're just going to attack with Zacian, and that's okay with us. We're going to be able to take a knockout on that Zacian next turn, which I really, really like. This is an interesting spot to be in, though, because our opponent now only needs to take 2 more knockouts, and we're going to have to leave a Beedrill in the active, which is really unfortunate. Well, actually, no, they're going to take 1 prize because of the knockout, aren't they? So maybe I'm being the silly person here. We can just promote another Pokédoll, so we're going to be fine, actually. I don't know what I was worried about. I don't know why I was worried at all. We've got the Beedrill. We've got 2 now, in fact, and we'll probably chuck down this Pokédoll. Now, we might choose to Gust here, or we could just use Destiny Stinger. Depends whether we want to take the knockout on the ADP or not. Could be worth taking that knockout just since we know that that's a way that he can potentially refresh energy. Although I will say this, there's only 4 cards left in deck, so it would be a bit of a risk to use that attack and empty out the deck. We've got Destiny Stinger. We're going to use it. I'm going to take 2 prizes on this Zacian V and then promote Lillie's Pokédoll. Our opponent will take 1 prize and we will take, what, 3? 2 is the amount that we're allowed to take. I've just had a complete space out there on the way that Pokemon worked. And what's actually really good about this is we're in a position now to take a knockout on the ADP. Their only other attacker is a Jirachi, and that's not necessarily going to do the job for them. They've got so few cards left that there's almost nothing that they can do. They're actually playing down an Oranguru here. So they're going to Primate Wisdom. They must be looking for their last Gust. Their ADP must be the only way that they can realistically expect to get a knockout here. If that Gust is prized, or if they've got it left in their deck, then they're going to be in a pretty good spot. They're going back into this Jirachi, and I think this time we're probably going to see a slap, and there it is. So we can take a knockout on ADP here, and if we can find one more Rare Candy, I think we actually win this game. Like, as ridiculous as it sounds, I think we might actually be able to win. So we'll chuck down an Escape Board on the Jirachi. We're going to probably use these great catches. We'll get rid of probably Guzma Hala or these Jirachis. We don't realistically need either of those. We'll bring up the ADP. That sounds pretty good. Then we will... Oh, this is an interesting one. I think we just Cynthia, even though we've got the great catcher in hand, we do need a lot. So we need to get Rare Candy and our... Oh, that's a Pokédoll. That's a really good card to draw off here. We need to get Rare Candy and the Beedrill here. So we're in a bit of an interesting spot. We can Destiny Stinger here. We're going to take 3 prizes. Just going to take us down to 1 prize remaining. And suddenly we've gone from not doing anything for multiple turns to potentially being able to win this game, which is quite ridiculous, to be honest. We've got a Switch here, a Cynthia, and a Rare Candy. That is so good. That means now that we could potentially top deck into a Beedrill for game. We have a Jirachi because of the Switch. It means we need a Rare Candy as we need not a Rare Candy, a Rainbow Energy as well. And this situation is ridiculous. I don't actually think that there's a way that we could realistically expect our opponent to win this game this turn. They don't have enough cards left to do anything here. And you'd think that if we are able to find that energy, we are going to be good to go. So we're going to promote the Jirachi. We've got the Switch, so we can do that. And we are looking at about 11 cards in deck. 11 cards to try and find ourselves a Beedrill. Now let's discard this Quick Ball with a Quick Ball. We've got 2 Beedrill. We've got a Rainbow Energy in deck. We've got the Evo Incense. We've got it all. So it's 11 cards. We just need to make sure that we hit one of those Evo Incenses off of the Jirachi, and we do. So we're going to be able to Rare Candy here. We are going to be able to Evo Incense to grab the Beedrill. We're going to put the Rare Candy down. Oh, look at all this. This is all going so very well. We've got the Beedrill. We can chuck that down. We can play the Great Catcher to thin out some cards as well to put that Dedenne into the active, and then we're probably going to see a Cynthia here. I would suggest that's probably the best way to see the most cards. We have 9 cards plus the 2 in our hand. We could realistically switch into the Jirachi and then retreat as well if we wanted to get rid of it, but we just need to hit that Rare Candy, and we do. So we're going to manage to win this game. Destiny Stinger here. We'll take a knockout on Dedenne. It'll take our opponent down to 1 prize, but we've got none left to take. So that seems like a pretty good result from me. We have to wait here for all of the interactions to happen. We're going to take our last prize, and that's the game. So even after a really slow start, Beedrill manages to overcome the best deck in the format, ADP Zacian, with that Destiny Stinger attack. We even managed to beat a deck that had 8 Gust cards, which is quite ridiculous. I can't imagine that would have been a winnable game if they had flipped heads on any of those 3 that they missed. But hey, it happens. That's what happens when you play Pokemon Catcher. Anyway, thank you very much for coming along and watching this one. I've had a great time, and I hope you have as well. If you have, then you might consider subscribing. Click the button that's just about here. Over here are some videos that YouTube thinks that you might like, as well as a playlist down the bottom for more Sword and Shield deck profiles. Follow us at @TheSableEyes_YT on Facebook and Twitter. And apart from that, we'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.